As a 4.0 student for 18 years of my life, I feel like it's necessary to share how exactly I've been able to get straight A's my entire life. And trust me, the things I'm about to share in this video, you're probably gonna be like, there's no way that's how he got all A's. What can I say? I guess I'm built weird. So the first major thing I did to get all A's was I was lazy. And now you may be thinking, well, if you're lazy, how exactly can you get all A's? Because isn't the whole point of getting all A's meaning you're putting in hours upon hours of work every single day to honing your craft of academic excellence so you can get straight A's? No, trust me, I did never like school. But the idea behind being lazy is that you are prioritizing your time. You want to spend as minimal effort with max reward that you can on assignments, homeworks, classwork, etc. Now what I mean by this isn't, you just write one sentence for your homework. What I mean by this is that if you only have to write 5 sentences for your homework, you don't have to start writing out full-on 5 pages of essays that a lot of students do. They overkill the assignments so hard when you really don't need to do that. Okay, you can be lazy and get your 100% easy. Now I'm not trying to say don't go above and beyond, because you want to go above and beyond, but there's a limit to it. Okay, you should never be writing a 5-page essay for a 5-sentence response. Now I am guilty for writing numerous sentences for a response that only requires like 5 sentences. I might end up writing 10 or 15, but that's because I was like, you know what, if I write a little more, then one of the things I say has to be correct, so boom, I'll get an A. But sometimes it would actually mess me up and the professor would dock points and I wouldn't get the 100%. So you don't want to do that. Now here's an example of where I was lazy and it worked out. And I'm sure you guys can relate to this. How many of you have actually read the books you were assigned for your English class or your reading class? Exactly, right? You probably read maybe the first 5 chapters. After that, you Sparknotes or Cliffsnotes the rest. I was one of those students. Very rarely did I read an entire book. In fact, the only book I read all the way in high school was To Kill a Mockingbird, and that was my freshman year of high school. Every book after that, I either read the Sparknotes, Cliffnotes, or Sparknotes summary. But you better believe I wrote notes upon notes on these summaries to make sure I understood exactly what the book was about. And I did read a couple of chapters. Now, this is a horrible advice. I'm sure, teachers watching this are probably like, whoa. Why are you persuading students to not read the books? If you like reading books, right, and you enjoy learning what books have to offer, because they offer a lot, then read these books. And I'm not saying don't read books, because I read books that aren't about school. Like I love How to Get Rich, like those types of books, because they teach you life skills and financial skills that can actually be used to better yourself. Reading books like Othello and Romeo and Juliet, good message, sure, but I'd rather not spend too much time on these books. So usually I would Sparknotes it and I would still get 100% on all the reading quizzes. So the whole philosophy is you want to do minimal things to understand something fully. Like I'm sure there's a girl in your class right now who probably writes hundreds of flashcards for the vocab test. Now she probably spends 3 hours making the flashcards and 3 hours studying. What you can do instead is just get the note sheet or the vocab sheet with the definition right by it and just study it all the way down for 3 hours and retain it. You don't have to put in that effort to make flashcards. Now, if that helps you, then for sure do it. But personally, I never found the need for it. And like I said, I did minimal things to understand the max amount of stuff I possibly could. Now, step 2 is to study hard for exams. Okay, this is the part where you cannot be lazy. You want to study hard for exams because these exams are like sports championships, okay? They make or break your grade. And my whole idea, literally even now as a college student, was I would make sure I did as good as possible on these exams, because 9 times out of 10, these exams are the deciding factors for your grade, right? So yeah, you may mess up on some classwork or some homework, but your exams, you for sure have to nail. And if you are nailing your exams, this creates something known as the cushion effect, which is basically where at the start of the semester, you usually are on a hotter start, you're more motivated. So by padding up your grade and inflating your grade to a point where you're getting hundreds on all these assignments, so now if you mess up towards the middle or end of the semester where you're a little less motivated, your grade won't take such a big hit. And now personally, when exams would come up, I would put in anywhere from 2 to 5 hours of studying for these exams per day. And I know this may be a lot, but like I said, these exams are the main things that are deciding your grade, especially in college. And this brings me to the next step, which is to do the extra credit. Now, if you really want to make sure you do well in college or in school, then hit those extra credit assignments. There's a bunch of them in college and in high school. I'm sure middle school, elementary school have a ton as well. And I know teachers in high school, they may tell you, oh, in college there's no extra credit. That is false. In fact, every semester of college, I've had at least 3 to 6 extra credit opportunities across my classes. So I would never say that extra credit is something that never occurs. And the whole idea behind extra credit is that it pads your grade, so that say you get a 5 out of 10 on an assignment, and you do a 5-point extra credit assignment, then that 50% is now 100%. And this will, help your grade a lot percentage-wise. And honestly, if you're above the 9%, then you got it. You got the A, and that's what we all want. Now, yes, these extra credit assignments may end up making you have to spend 1 extra hour in your dorm or in your room doing some work, but who cares, okay? It's just 1 hour of your day, and it'll help your grade all the more. So you matter of fact, just do it. Like I know in step 1, I said you be lazy, but for extra credit, you kind of can't be lazy because it's called extra credit, meaning you have to do extra stuff. So you can't be lazy and do extra stuff, right? So just do the extra credit, get those extra points, and then move on. Now, step 4, and this is what a lot of people might consider cheap, and that is the idea of a bump up. So I'm not saying be a teacher's pet, okay? I've never been a teacher's pet. In fact, in high school, there is a good amount of teachers I can think of already that strongly disliked me. But sometimes when I would ask them for a bump up, maybe my grade is like 89%. I'm like, come on now, 1% away, help me out, help a man out. They're like, you know what? You've been doing well in the class, you've been learning, sure. And a lot of students are afraid to ask their teachers for bump ups. But you do understand that, say you want to go to Stanford or Harvard, right? And you know you need that 4.0 GPA. And you got straight A's your entire life, but that one last quarter, your 4th quarter of high school, you are at 89%. Do you really want to lose that out of pride of asking your teacher for a bump up? No one's saying suck up, but you can just say, hey, I would really appreciate if you can bump up my grade to 89%. I've been working really hard. As you can see, I've improved a lot. Can you please give me that 9% round? And if you word it nicely, a lot of teachers will comply and say, you know what, I agree. And then they'll give you that bump up. And in the worst case, they'll probably say, no, you get the grade you get. And that happens. And in that case, it is where it is. You did end up getting 89% because of your own work/effort. Now, the 5th step, and this step is probably one of the most important. In fact, I feel like this step right here really dictates whether you will be one of those stellar students in the class or whether you'll be a mediocre student in the class. And that is to understand everything real time. Now, this is hard, right? A lot of students are not able to do this. A lot of times I'm not able to do this, especially for more complicated concepts. But the idea is you want to understand the most amount you possibly can understand when you are first presented that information. So let's say your AP Calc teacher is going over derivatives, or your computer science teacher in college is going over recursion. When they're first explaining the process, you want to pay attention as much as you can, okay? Don't start talking to your friends. Don't be on your phone. Don't even take notes. Put down everything, and I want you to pay strict attention to what your teacher or professor is saying. Because if you're able to understand at least 80% of the content they're presenting when they're first presenting it, then your study time will be cut by 80%, which is a huge factor. Because when your brain first hears something, that's when it is most ready to grab the information and process it, right? So if you're able to understand something right away, then you won't have to go back and study for that concept later on because you already understand it. And this cuts down not only on study time, but when you are studying for an exam, you don't have to cover that topic as much because you already understand it. And now the last and final step, and I think this is the most important actually. In fact, I feel like this is what really got me to my academic, point that I am currently at. And that is to help other students. Now, I know maybe you aren't the most extroverted person. Maybe you hate talking to people, whatever. It does not matter, okay? If you're able to teach someone a concept, that means you understand that concept a lot. And a lot of times what would happen is when I would understand a concept faster than my friends, I would, help them with that concept, guide them through it. And sometimes I will make mistakes as well. And as I'm teaching them and I make these mistakes, I'm able to practice as well as help someone out, which is just, a mutually beneficial relationship. And the thing is, when you're teaching someone something and you make a mistake, you remember that mistake and you very rarely make it again. So it's way better to teach someone to make a mistake than, do something on your own to make a mistake. Because when you're teaching someone, there's almost that added pressure trying to make sure you know your information. So when you make that mistake, you're more critical on yourself. So then you don't make that mistake ever again. And honestly, I would really say, as someone who helps so many students for a lot of concepts, especially in math and computer science, this technique / this step really helped me understand concepts way better than when I first heard them or when I studied things on my own. Like, why do you think teachers are experts on the topics they teach? Because they've been teaching for so many years that they know all the ins and outs of it. So if you're able to do even a fraction of that, then you'll be very capable at that topic and you will be almost a master at it. And these 6 steps are really the steps that I would say help me get straight A's my entire life. And hopefully these steps can help you all out as well. If they do, or if you've even done any of these steps on your own and you've seen a huge difference, then be sure to comment down below. Otherwise, just comment down what you want to see next. Thank you all for watching. Peace out. Peace out. Peace.